There is no separation of church and state, according to the White House Religious Liberty Commission in its final stages. Hi, I'm Matt Hubbard with Pagan News. The White House Religious Liberty Commission uh, is in their final stages, and they have released some of the recommendations that would fundamentally alter religion and government in America. They were brought to explore increasing religious liberty and how it works within the United States. And the pieces that are coming out are very worrisome. And so basically, some of the recommended measures would fundamentally alter religion uh, and government in America. While the final report is pending, released ahead of its July 4th, 2026 expiration. The commission ends, appointed by Donald Trump. It has asked for that there'd be this idea that the wall between church and state is ridiculous, doesn't belong, and that they can support and finance otherwise religious groups without having to force them to do the non-discriminatory charges, i.e., they can give money to Catholic services, which has been really hard because they have been discriminating against LGBTQ. Lots of programs will not allow a number of elements, and the government of the United States will not fund them without non-discriminatory clauses that they will respect and honor non-discrimination. And a lot of nonprofit religious charities do get money from the federal government for food and other sort of community service that pledge to this non-discrimination. Now, the Liberty Commission, this wonderful group of mostly evangelical men, want to say that that's no longer necessary, that they can continue to receive government money, even if they're discriminating. And that'll just open up a faucet for a lot of different reasons. No mention of alternative religions, no mention of anything else, just as this is happening. Freedoms from Religion Foundation, where I got most of this information, Americans United, have noted that recommendation read less like a religious freedom document and more like a legislative blueprint for Christian nationalist governance. So they're making this blueprint to send to Congress, to send to Senate, send to the president, to anyone who will listen, that basically makes it easier for Christian and Christian-based groups to get funding, and also to take away prosecution when there's discrimination cases. And that is just news reporting today. And so we will watch for this. This is on top of the major news report across our own community and lots of smaller minority religions, and that is the Department of Defense's attack. Let's call it that, attack on removing 180 religions that they call praxis in the government to do so. And that this has woken up the community, the interfaith community. The Mormons have been upset, and our community has responded admirably. Wildhunt.org, Wild Hunt, one of the best places you can get daily news, speaks about the Pentagon and the actions within it. Lady Liberty League came out with a beautiful set of statements, and they're working with interfaith groups, not just alone, but with interfaith group. Support Lady Liberty League if you can. I tell you, they're well worth it. And on their Facebook page and possibly on their web pages, they have a way to contact your senators, and they have a lot of action, including they're saying contact your senators. The number one place is to contact your senators. Lady Liberty, Covenant of the Goddess has made statements. Several Madrid organizations have made statements. Several witchcraft have made declarations, all to the same basic directions that this is unfair, this is not will be seen, and we'll see what happens out of it. And so there's going to be a lot more about this. Within the Cauldron, remember that, Within the Cauldron on their YouTube tomorrow at 7 p.m., we'll have 5 of the leading people talking about this and discussing it. A.C. Aldag and Edward Smith, I believe that's the name. A.C. Aldag, I have a great deal of respect for. So that's tomorrow on the YouTube channel. Within the Cauldron, they're going to have a big report about this. So I hope that they will continue to. I want to congratulate Alexander Nemo. He has just brought out with AlantisRisingMedia.com. AlantisRisingMedia.com. Go ahead and check it out. It'll be great. It'll be enjoyable. And they have brought out a free online magazine called uh, if I understand this, Alantis Rising Magazine. Let me get it right. Alantis Magazine Rising. And you can find it at atlantisrisingmedia.com. It's a free downloadable PDF. And so, yeah, we can do that. If you have a downloadable PDF or magazines or things you want me to talk about, please send them to my email, which everybody knows is asthepagan@gmail.com. All right. The last is, I'm going to butcher this, Ajamio Misland, or AM fungi, as it's more called, has been discovered to cover 70% of all plant species and are interconnected. And they've now kind of, American Scientific and has guided over 300 studies and discovered that these global fungi everywhere is in the soil. It's called a charismatic fungi in the soil, and that they drag 4 billion tons of carbon into the soils from these plants from around the world, and that they also communicate with each other through various types of pulses, both chemical and electrical. And yeah, it affects 70% of plant species. So we're finding out more and more about the world of mushrooms, the fungi, and the mycelium network that is underneath the earth and has made this all sort of great. So that is it. I'm going to bring you over to Gabriella Tevens, and she's going to talk about the Hecate resurgence, and followed by Reverend Don Lewis on media. So there we go. Continue with us. Pagan News, paganworldnews.com. And we're going to get better yet.
Hello, this is Reverend Don Lewis, and welcome to my corner of Pagan World News, where I give my thoughts and opinions on subjects of interest to the community. And in my last installment, I talked about media and its importance, both in terms of setting our own image and bringing us together over large geographical areas. This was always the biggest importance of pagan media, whether in print or video or otherwise, helping people feel connected over large geographical areas. Today, I want to talk about physical community. And 25 years ago this year, Ed the Pagan, Lisa Tuitt, and I founded witchschool.com. And the reason that we did this is because at that time, 25 years ago, there were lots of people who wanted to learn about metaphysics, and in particular about Wicca, but could not find people to teach them, either because they were geographically isolated from pagan communities, or because they simply could not find teachers in their pagan communities because the teachers who were already there were already booked up. And sometimes also they were isolated for physical reasons such as disability. Coming to them through the internet was life-changing for many people. It allowed them to become part of the community that they otherwise could not access. And through Magic TV, we gave them an access to pagan events and festivals that they could not otherwise have experienced. And I believe this is still very important today in all its forms. However, I think it's also very important that we not forget the importance of our physical communities. And in the years since COVID, our physical communities have slowed down a little bit because I think we kind of got out of the habit, and some of the people who had been facilitating local communities ceased to do so. And I think that we are at a time where it's very important that we work on rebuilding our local communities. And I would like to encourage you to do exactly that. Become involved in your local community, start doing things. And if you don't have a local community, start one. And there are all kinds of ways to do this. We'll probably talk more about that in future segments. But, it's one of those things, if it's not there, you may be the one who has to do it. And, there's nothing wrong with that. Maybe that's why Spirit has put you in this place. And more than ever, we really need our physical communities, because many people who were once connected by the internet in ways they could not otherwise be, now sometimes feel disconnected by it through lack of human companionship. And a lot of people say that they are feeling loneliness through that lack of companionship. Now, that's not just in our pagan community. It's in all communities at present. But in our community, this is what we can do about it. Also, is a way of offering services to ourselves that are not necessarily so easily offered online. Live rituals, events for children and families, the live classes and education. These are also important things. And perhaps most importantly, what used to be called Pagan's Night Out, or similar names, where you have social gatherings for people of like minds that allow them to get together without any sort of liturgical politics and so forth, but just come together and enjoy each other's company. And I would like to see this become stronger again. It certainly hasn't gone away, but it has lessened over the years. And so my message to you is that if you're in a position to take part in these events or to host them, now's a perfect time to start. We really need to encourage ourselves to come together. And, one of the things that I have always differed in from many other people, when someone who's just come to the community will ask, what should I do? So many people say, oh, buy every book you can and read everything you can. And I never said that. I said, go out and meet some people, become involved in some things, and get to know what's actually there. Because many times those books only show you a tiny slice of what's actually there. Sometimes things that aren't even actually there. You are much more greatly profited by actually meeting the people who are doing these things and interacting with them. And again, I think that we really need to take this time in history to once again expand the opportunities to do that. I remember a day when in Chicago we had a monthly social gathering and a dozen public rituals that were happening every Sabbat, several that were happening every Esbat, and all kinds of live classes, all kinds of things people could take part in and commune with other people of like mind. Now, of course, we can do this online, but when we can do it in person, there's a lot to be said for that. And that is my message to you today, to something to think about, something perhaps to do. And with that, I thank you. And until next time, may you blessed be. Reverend Don's Book of Astrology. Everything you always wanted to know about the stars, together in one book. Get your copy today. Available from CorellianPublishing.com.
Rev Don's Book of Astrology. Everything you always wanted to know about the stars in one book. Get your copy today at CorellianPublishing.com.
Who is Hecate? Is she the daughter of night, the daughter of witchcraft, the daughter of stars, the goddess of waters, the goddess in caves or on the roads, from the physical self to the spiritual self and back into dust on the burial mound? She is all of these. She is the only child, the virgin goddess, much like Artemis, whom had neither husband nor children. These were goddesses possessed of purpose and guardianship, protection, bounty, and abundance, self-development and advancement, protection spells, curing spells. Hecate originally was a mother goddess who, with her dogs, protected weary travelers, but also protected women on the path from going from maiden to motherhood through the gateways of childbirth. She also tended and accompanied the dead on their way down to Tartarus, the underworld. Her epithet Chthoniya nods to this role that she possesses still, of accompaniment to the underworld, still as a psychopomp, a guardian and guide for the dead. The most notable of her myths in Hecate's lore comes from Demeter searching for Persephone, her daughter, Kore, who fell through a crack in the earth when Hades came to claim her, and Demeter had no idea where her daughter had gone and was despairing and desperate, as any mother would be. But the only two that had seen, or maybe three in some of the lore, the only ones who saw the disappearance of Persephone, Kore, to the underworld was Helios the sun, the tender-hearted Hecate, and in some cases Hermes, depending on which poet you are reading, recounting that story. But there and then, this is when Hecate becomes a psychopomp. Because when Persephone is retrieved from the underworld, she is promised by Hecate that she will be accompanied every time she needs to go to the underworld or return from it into her mother's arms. And so her guardian role is prominent, and that is probably her most well-known myth. And indeed, at the rites of the mystery schools in Elysium, treat the topic of physical death, going to the underworld, returning from the spirit realm as the prime mystery in human existence. And Hecate was a goddess who was able to explain having a protector and having someone to guide the fates through these physical and spiritual manifestations and changes between those. Currently, Hecate is seen as a goddess for witches and those who are practicing magic and spell work to change their destiny. She is popular because she doesn't judge. She is popular because she is a goddess of integrity and of noble pursuits. She is intriguing as to her specialties, such as divination, death, necromancy, and speaking with the others with a capital O. She is also the goddess of plenty, a household goddess who offerings are made to her in the ancient and current world about passage from the house and into the living space, in hopes that she will care for and provide for the residents and the inhabitants, and also avert danger, calamity, poverty, scarcity. She is popular amongst today's witches and pagans, occultists. You will see her and her varied manifestations, iterations, because she is flexible and fluid. And in today's times, that flexibility is needed. Voice is needed. Votes are needed. Decision making is still hard. And it's still beneficial to have a goddess on your side when making them. I am Gabriella Laughingroot, and you've been listening to Pagan World News on Pagan Radio, paganpublicradio.com.